I'm married, 5 years now, and we have a 2-year-old daughter. On the surface, it seems like a typical, peaceful, and happy marriage, but the reality couldn't be further from that. I've known my wife since our college days, and we've been together for 16 years. We've shared so much, from a deep friendship, through a bond like siblings to the love of a couple, and eventually into marriage. Sadly, this marriage has proven to be a grave mistake. My wife was unfaithful. She cheated on me with her ex-boyfriend while I was away working in another city. As they say, all secrets come out eventually, and her betrayal did too. Ugly and despicable. I stumbled upon the evidence when we were moving. A box of her old things spilled open, and there it was, documents from her abortion. The hell I went through is beyond words. It felt like dying, like my soul was being torn apart. I lost the person closest to me, the one I cherished most, or more accurately, I lost the illusion I'd been clinging to. Dark thoughts plagued me. I won't deny it. From the burning desire to find and kill them, just so she could witness it, to the urge to end everything in a single step, like from the rooftop of a tall building. I almost took that step. At first, just like anyone else might, she tried to pin the blame on me. Then came the tears, the begging, the remorse, and of course, those endless promises of love and assurances that it would never happen again. She even insisted that she couldn't live with the guilt and had been tormented by it all along, poor thing. But I didn't believe a word of it. Time went by, but nothing got better. We were living on a powder keg, ready to blow with the slightest spark. I was seething inside, pain clouding my vision, while she cried and practically groveled at my feet. After about a month, it became clear that this couldn't go on. She was suffering, and I was heading for an early grave. So I made up my mind to leave her. One evening, I packed up all my things, wished her happiness with someone else, and walked out. I rented a place, thinking I could sort through all the chaos in my mind and soul by myself. For a while, it seemed like things were starting to fall into place, and I was beginning to heal from the pain. But every time I saw a couple in love or a mother with her child, I'd be thrown into a raging hell all over again. If I'd had a gun back then, I probably wouldn't be here telling this story. Then something happened that changed everything. I needed to go back to my wife's place to get her to sign the divorce papers. But when I saw her, I realized this was not the right time for that. She was shattered, looked absolutely awful, and was clearly deep in depression. I didn't need to ask how she felt. I knew all too well, having gone through it myself off and on. I never fully escaped the depression, but there were brief moments of, well, let's call it clarity, if that's the right word. So when I saw her, I lied and said I'd come to pick up some tools for repairs. We chatted for a bit, then I went back to my place. 3 months later, we got back together and tried to start fresh. My wife had changed a lot. Her pride and strong-willed nature were gone, and she'd become almost perfect. I probably hadn't ever experienced that much care and attention from her before. For a while, things seemed to improve, and we even grew a bit closer. Then she got pregnant, and our daughter was born. I was completely smitten with our child, and felt like the happiest person alive. One evening, we were talking about her parents and their relationship, and something about that conversation stuck with me. It hit me that I no longer loved my wife. She felt like a stranger to me. Yes, we were living together under the same roof, and we had a child, but we were like two people playing roles in a bad play. Our relationship had become this ongoing act of pretense and self-deception. She plays the part of the perfect wife who loves her husband, but deep down, I know it's all a facade. She doesn't love me, and I just go along with it, pretending everything's fine, so she'll keep believing it. For me, the most important thing is our child. That's all I really have left. So, that's how we carry on. I'm not blaming her for anything. She's not a bad person. She just never loved me, and still doesn't. And now, I've lost all love for her too. I'm ready to write the final chapter of this sad story, which unfolded just a couple of days ago. My wife and I had another talk about everything. Us, our child, and our feelings. This time, it was devoid of emotion or tears. We decided to give it one last shot to fix things, whatever the cost. But fate had other plans. The wife of her lover came to see us. She had discovered the messages between my wife and her husband, along with some other things. She confronted us, telling my wife she was giving her husband back and leaving with their 2 kids. Then she slammed the door and left, tears streaming down her face. My wife wandered around for a whole day, head bowed, crying nonstop. I tried to console her, but it was clear I wasn't the person she wanted or needed at that moment. The next morning, she packed her things and told me she couldn't handle it anymore. The burden was too heavy, and she couldn't live like this any longer. She left the baby with me, saying I was a good father, and walked out. I think I did end up seeing him. But honestly, I've moved on. That's how my marriage came to an end. Strangely enough, I don't regret it. My mother-in-law called, saying my wife was staying with them, and that we needed to work things out. I didn't say much, just that it was too late. Gradually, things are getting better. I'm focusing on taking care of our child and finding contentment in my life. I've forgiven both my wife and her lover and let them go. You have to live in the present and not cling to the past. Friends, this was a 2-part story, spanning several years. So I've been wondering. Yes, what my wife did was awful, but why did this come up again after so long? Did she keep reaching out to you all these years? I'm confused. If not, why did the lover's wife come forward after all this time? It does make some sense in the end. It turns out she had been trying to reach you all these years, and you've endured this. By a stroke of luck, I got an answer directly from the author. The lover's wife found out about everything just like I did, but it was much later. She discovered it accidentally when her work computer broke down, and she used her husband's old laptop, which still had access to his social media accounts and everything else. Why did I revisit all this and torment myself and her? At first, there was intense pain and the fear of losing her. I loved her deeply, and I invested so much time trying to mend things. I tried to win her back, without reproaching or dwelling on the past. But now, things have shifted. The pain has faded, and the fear has subsided, replaced by a clear, cold realization. I see now that she never truly loved me. She stayed out of fear of being alone, and perhaps worry that he wouldn't leave his family. Once the fear faded and understanding set in, my feelings shifted too. New emotions like despair and loneliness took their place, and the pain returned, clouding my judgment. The arguments started, not filled with harsh words or blame, but a silent wall grew between us. I felt lost, unsure whether to try to rebuild from the ruins or to let go completely. I admit I made mistakes, but this wasn't what I wanted. I'm drained and empty now. Where there was once love, there's only a gaping wound, scorched and raw. I don't know what to do next. I want to help her, but it should be him doing that. He should be the one comforting and supporting her now, because she made these choices for him, and he did the same for her. As for us, the wives, we're just reminders of past mistakes, irritants they'd rather not deal with. We're the last people they want to see, and we were only part of their lives out of obligation, not out of love. I think only time can help us both here. No, it doesn't heal, but it helps us get used to things and stop focusing on the pain and memories. I'm trying to adapt and live without looking back, but it still shakes me up sometimes and hurts deeply.